Well, welcome back to another episode of Yoda's Hut. I'm Bill. I go by Yoda Man on the boards. In this game, I'm going to be playing a Sith deck against my friend Jerry's Jedi deck. Looks like we've already drawn things, and I'm going to actually start off with Dark Council, Executor Arrives, and Fall of the Jedi. And Jerry is starting with Ties of Blood, May the Force be with you, and I believe that is Forgotten Masters. So the dial will start at 1. For the dark side, looks like I discarded a card and I will draw one. First thing I play, it looks like is Telepathic Connection. That is a card that gives bonuses to Gork and Pick. A great card if you can get those two out to use in tandem. And I gotta think if I played that, I probably have one of them in my hand. Yep, there's Gork. Looks like I have a Vader in my hand too. So Gork is a great unit to have in your opening hand. He costs 4, so you're pretty much always going to give him out. He's elite. He has 5 health. He's a very beefy unit. He also has 2 black guns and 2 white blast. And his reaction that if he takes damage and he's in an engagement, Pick can return to your hand or bounce in and out. So it looks like I'm going to be done deploying and heading to the force phase here. Just waiting to see if Jerry had any actions first. I'm going to commit Gork and take the force back. So while we have a second here, because I think Jerry's looking at his hand, let me kind of briefly go over the objectives again. So my objectives, I've got Fall of the Jedi. That's, very common Sith objective. It's been around since the start of the game that allows you to bury a card at the beginning of your draw phase. So basically it allows you to cycle through cards together quicker. Executor Arrives, which is basically just a blank text. It has 2 resources and 5 health. And then Dark Council, which is the new Sith objective, that when a light side unit that's damaged focuses to strike, it receives an extra focus token. So that's a nice addition to the Sith toolbox and strategies you can use. So it's nice to have it in this deck. And that was actually one of the points of these games that Jerry and I happen to be playing this day. As we were playing a lot of different games, we tried a lot of different decks. We were trying out some of the cards that had just come out in the Forest Moon pack. And so let's see what Jerry has here. He's got Ties of Blood, which is an annoying card for the dark side to deal with because it forces you to attack. Otherwise, the light side can do damage to one of your objectives. May the Force be with you, which is basically the best light side objective in the game. I don't think there'd be too much argument about that. And Forgotten Masters, which actually has an interesting ability in conjunction with, I think, what's in Jerry's deck, that when you win an edge battle, as a forced reaction, you take the balance of the force. So you can use that to get lots of different tricks in. You can use it to, potentially play at my ally as the force when they're not expecting it because you can get balance. You could play other things on the... You also have to worry about on the flip side that if the dark side takes balance, then maybe that's going to free them up to play a rage where maybe they wouldn't have otherwise. So could be a double-edged sword, but let's see what Jerry's actually playing here. It looks like he's spending 4 resources to play the Moldy Crow. So Moldy Crow is a great unit, especially if you can win edge. It's got those 4 white blast icons. It also is elite. And it turns off all protect and shielding for the dark side player when it's on the board. So it looks like Jerry is going to attack Dark Council with Moldy Crow here, and I'm going to defend with Gork. So we're about to have our first edge battle of the game. Jerry puts a card in. Looks like I put a card in. I see that Vader there. I can't imagine I'm going to pitch my Vader. I have a feeling I'm going to pass and take my chances. So let's see what happens. Looks like I'm thinking about it a little bit and must have passed, and Jerry put a 3rd card in. I just have 1. Jerry looks like he actually has 4 or 5. And I think that was a heat of battle. Yep, does the damage to Gork. So Moldy Crow is going to get to strike for 4 objective damage on Dark Council. So that's getting a lot of damage out early. Gork is going to get to strike back for 2 on the Moldy Crow. So if I could drop that Vader and actually have an event to play on my next turn for free, I can take out Moldy Crow. Since Jerry won't balance, he actually takes balance and sets it to the light side. Now, I guess at this point he could commit Moldy Crow, just to free it up with May the Force be with you, but he doesn't. Dial's actually going to go to 2 there because he had balance. I think I did that. That's probably a good choice on Jerry's part, actually, to not free up Multicrow because telepathic connection basically lets when Gork attacks, he can pull in any light side unit that's eligible to be in the engagement. So if he had freed up Multicrow, I could have just struck with Gork and probably taken out the Multicrow. So now as it is, I can't get quite the free shot on Crow as I'd like. So it looks like I played a Dark Temple. Resources are always good. I got that Vader still hanging out. Kind of wondering if I'd want to risk putting all my resources out with Vader or maybe put something else out since that Ties of Blood is still sitting there staring at me in the face. Looks like I got a Servant of the Dark Side that I might be considering playing. I think I am. So let's see here. Yep, I bet that's what I'm going to put on the board. Cheap unit. Yep, Servant of the Dark Side from Saris's set. Kind of an underrated unit. It's actually good in a situation like this. I'm going to pay 2 to put him out. So I can actually attack with him. He's got 1 Black Blast, even though he only has 1 health since Jerry has no defenders. I can kind of send him in for free, turn off Ties of Blood this turn at least, and probably attack that if I think. And so it looks like that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send Servant in after Ties of Blood. Jerry has no defender, so I'll get 1 plus a 1 unopposed. Because of Forgotten Masters, that's actually going to allow me to take balance back before we even go to the Force phase. So I have a feeling we'll catch that in a second there. Forgotten Masters, if you haven't played with a lot, it's kind of easy to forget that Force reaction that happens when they say, yep, we just caught it. And the fact I didn't put Vader in makes me think I must have like a Force Lightning or something like that. So I actually go to Force phase, win the Force struggle, and take 1 off of Dark Temple. I didn't play anything then, so I must not have Force Lightning, but I wonder if I had Deadly Sight in there. Or maybe a Heat of Battle, so I'm figuring I can potentially take out Crow. Because I'm a little surprised I didn't play Vader based on I saw him. But I guess since I'm not exactly sure what else I had in my hand at that time, that's probably why. Alright, so looks like Jerry's going to play 1 for a Dagobah training ground, so he's getting some resources going. That will certainly help if you want to try to get out some other units, especially if you want to get out some big units to help get it some board state for Jedi. Right now, Crow is the only thing on the board, and it's pretty close to being destroyed with the 2 damage on it. And I'm just sitting back and waiting to see what happens and letting Gork sit there. With 1 damage on Gork, that's a pretty good defender there. He's still got 4 more damage he could take before he'd be destroyed. So let's see what Jerry plays next. Looks like he's going to pay 2 for a Mystic. And he's actually left 2 different resources open. So let's see what happens here. Looks like, I don't know if he's going to conflict or he's still thinking about deploying at this point. So it looks like he's going to spend 1 and actually Jedi Mind Trick Gork. So that is going to leave me with no defenders. He's got Moldy Crow, which could basically take out an objective by itself. And he's got a Mystic, which could take out a second objective. So this is not going to be good unless I got some trick up my sleeve here. So it looks like Jerry's getting ready to move to conflict. Yep, and I'm getting ready to play Deadly Sight on the Moldy Crow. Probably been better if I could have just taken out Moldy Crow, but with Gork. But since he focused Gork down with that Jedi Mind Trick, Deadly Sight will do the trick. So at least I don't have to worry about it taking out objective. Now I guess it'll be interesting to see if Jerry decides to attack and take out Dark Council, spread some damage around and get it on some other objectives, or just sit back and keep the Force. I gotta think with May the Force be out and a clear board to strike at, you gotta go ahead and get some damage in somewhere, and then potentially, just free up the Mystic, take balance back. So looks like that's what Jerry's going to do here, is probably just deciding which objective he wants to engage. I said, I don't really have a way to deal with the Mystic right now. So he's going to go after Executor arrives. He's going to automatically win the edge battle and take balance back. That does 2 damage there. Now, oh, and there is a good trick too. So he took balance back and is going to spend 1 for another Jedi mind trick, but since light side has balance, I actually put 2 focus tokens on Gork instead of 1. So Gork is going to be locked down for the next turn. And he's going to commit to Mystic. Yep, take the Force back. The dial will go to 3 as light side still has balance. All right, so since light side have balance, I can only take 1 off Dark Temple, which I used 2 of those resources to actually attack or use the Deadly Sight. Looks like I just saw Palpatine. I know I had Vader in there, so be curious to see what I play this turn since his Mystic is open. Looks like I'm going to play Vader for 5. I got the 5 resources thanks to the objective there. Vader is always good when he hits the board. And now, I guess I got to figure out how I want to swing. I could swing with Gork and force the Mystic to come in. Of course, if Jerry has something like a Seeds, then I'm not going to do... Actually, I can't swing with Gork. He's still focused, sorry. I'm going to attack with the Servant of the Dark Side. He only has 1 health. Just see if I can get some free damage in, or at least get the objective. Damage out if he doesn't defend. Or maybe I can at least get him 1 if he does. Looks like Jerry's going to block with the Mystic. Oh, I've got a Force Choke. That's timely. So I can damage the Mystic and then react with Vader to kill it. So my Servant will get a free shot at this objective, and now I've got a clear board to swing outside. Take balance from winning edge. Get 2 more on that objective thanks to unopposed, and try to put Ties of Blood out of commission. One of the bad things right now is I've only got Vader there. I did get to take 1 off Dark Temple, and I have balance. And it looks like I've chosen not to commit Vader, probably to make sure that I don't get hit with the Seeds of Decay. Since I already have balance, that's actually a pretty good approach to take as the dark side. If you don't need to commit one of your big units like a Vader or a Palpatine, and you can keep balance, and you might want to do that when you're playing these Jedi decks that have Yoda in there, because Seeds of Decay is always a possibility of dropping on you. All right, so it looks like Jerry's going to play 2 for, what is that, native support, the resource from Leia's set that's cost 2, you get 1 resource, but it has the reaction that if you discard a shield from play, then you can remove a focus token either from that enhancement to free up a resource, or an Ewok you control. So he's still got 4 resources left. This could be a lot of things right here. So he's got enough to play a Luke. He's got enough to play a Yoda. He doesn't have enough to play Obi-Wan, who I'm not sure if it's in his deck or not. He could certainly play some Lost Masters or Trasa from the Forgotten Master set with the 4 resources. Maybe he's got some littler things to play too, like Ewoks, or if he has a Nudge. Right now, the only thing I have to defend with is Vader, although he's certainly a good defensive unit with his 2 black guns and 4 health. I've also got the 2 resources open here, so I might be holding something back event-wise that I could potentially play. Maybe a Force Stasis from Gork and Pick set, or even one of those new administrative detainment cards that's in Dark Council. Things that can slow the light side down either by focusing them in the case of the administrative detainment, or just keeping them out of the engagement with Force Stasis. So as Jerry sits there and thinks a little bit about what he wants to do, it still looks like. I should point out, I think I mentioned this before, so we just play at my kitchen table in our Wilson, North Carolina Meadow of 2, and a lot of times just try different decks to see what might work and just have fun. And since we just play at my house, that's why I call this Yoda's Hut. So it looks like Jerry was thinking about doing something, but actually changed his mind. He took the resources back off, so either he needed more, or maybe he wanted to pay for something a little differently. I gotta think there's probably a big unit getting ready to hit the board, which is a little bit risky with all the Sith units I have out right now, even if Vader's the only one to defend, just because you kind of want to get a chance to build a board, and unless you have something really good like Yoda, who can focus something down and do a lot of damage, or Luke, who can targeted strike stuff, you really need to try to get more units out, especially with the Executor sitting there, I could always potentially play an aggression if he only has one unit out and clear his board again for pretty cheap. All right, so it looks like he's still pondering here. He's grabbing his tokens. I gotta think something big's gonna hit the table, like I said before. I think we're gonna about see Yoda or Luke probably. And just a matter of once he plays that, how's he gonna proceed from that point. So just watch for another second or two. I will say this about my friend Jerry. He really likes to think a lot since this is one of our casual games just playing around, that we're not really under time constraints. And Jerry is definitely one who likes to consider all his options and try to really optimize his play for that every single turn. And so I'm guessing that's what he's doing here, really trying to decide which is the best thing to put in. And once he puts something down, how's he going to sort of deal with things and the board state that the way it is. May the Force be with you certainly helps as long as he can keep something alive, because he will be able to clear it back off if he needs to. So he's still thinking about things. Getting ready to put, looks like he's going to pay 4, and there is Luke. So that is the core version of Luke, which a lot of people have been leaning towards the Between the Shadows version because you can get some crazy looping with the enhancement. But core Luke is still good. He's got targeted strike, 2 guns. His set comes with Trust Your Feelings. It comes with a Jedi lightsaber. So it looks like he's sending core Luke in after Fall of the Jedi, trying to spread some more damage around. Be interesting to see how he plays this. So he puts a card in. I put a card in. Now I've got that Palpatine there. I kind of wonder if I'm going to bother pitching Palpatine. It looks like I put a second card in. I'll be curious what I played. So it looks like I have 3, and he has 4 with what I believe are an Echo and a Seeds of Decay. Well, that's certainly going to help. So Jerry's going to win the edge battle. And I guess, yep, he's going to commit Vader and then use Seeds to focus Vader. So that's a great combination when you can pull it off. Echoes and Seeds on something that they were expecting to defend with. So now Luke's going to get to do 2 damage to the objective since he won edge. He took balance back with Forgotten Masters, and now it's a matter of, does he want to shoot and put a couple damage on Gork? Does he want to take out the Servant? Does he want to get a couple damage on Vader? Lots of options here for Jerry with Luke. Nice thing about Luke is he doesn't even have to commit him. Luke will automatically refresh when the turn passes to me. And he got balance back thanks to Forgotten Masters. So Gork might be a good choice here just because Gork can pull Luke in the engagement even if he didn't want to be in there. And that's what he does. So if he can somehow shoot back, he could kill Gork. So it looks like we're going to go to the Force phase now. Jerry's just going to pass the turn. He still has balance. He gets to take 1 off Luke, and the dial's going to go to 4 here. At least Jerry has no resources open. That should help me. But I'm going to have 5 open this turn. Everybody's going to free up on my end. That's good. But Executor Arrive still has 1 focus on because I had double focus at last turn. So that Palpatine that looks like he was in my hand still is going to remain in my hand at least 1 more turn. I'll get some resources. Try to see what I got there. That looks like an administrative detainment. I think I see a Seeds. It might even be Force Stasis. I know the Palpatine's in there, so it looks like I have some good options here with the resources. I could play a Royal Guard. That's always a great unit to play. Protect is good, especially since Moldy Crow is off the table now. Those cards have been staples of Sith decks since the game came out. There's the Royal Guards from Emperor Palpatine set. Now, looks like I'm going to get Vader a lightsaber, and this is probably going to be bad for Jerry. I've still got resources open, and I remember seeing administrative detainment in there, and I think Force Stasis, so I should be able to attack and actually take Luke out because I could keep him from being in the engagement at all. So let's see what happens here. So it looks like gotta think I'm done deploying based on, I think my other cards right now are Seeds, Force Stasis, Administrative Detainment, and Palpatine. It looks like I'm thinking about attacking with Gork. And we're going to try to sucker Luke in there. Actually, no, I guess I've changed my mind. I'm not going to attack with Gork. That seemed like an odd play to begin with. Yeah, it looks like I'm going to attack with Vader with his 3 guns. Try to take out Luke here. So I am engaging May the Force be with you, and yep, I'm going to play administrative. Oh, nope, hold on. It looks like I'm going to play Force Stasis. I guess I grabbed the wrong card, so I'm going to play Force Stasis on Luke, so that means Luke can't be declared as a defender or attacker. This time he would be defending, so I'm going to get a free shot at Luke for 3, and I will hope that Luke actually doesn't have a lightsaber deflection back at me. Actually forgot to use Vader's reaction, but I guess it didn't really matter at that point. So I'm going to take Luke out, do 2 plus the 1 unopposed to May the Force be with you. And now I'm spreading some damage around on the dark side. So as the dark side, it looks like we're both getting some damage in here. So, I mean, he's got damage on all my objectives, and I think I'm going to have about pretty similar amount of damage on all his as I send the Serpent of the Dark Side in to get 2 free damage on Forgotten Masters. Looks like I've still got the Royal Guard left as a possible defender, and I've got Gork left. I've also got the Balance of the Force since I won that Edge battle uncontested. And I get to take 1 off Dark Temple as I pass the turn. And I remember I do have that administrative detainment, which may come in handy here in a second. So Jerry's going to refresh. It looks like he's going to discard something. He still has 6 resources, so he can certainly get some stuff out this turn. He had Crow out, he had Luke out, but I have definitely been seeing more mains in this game than he was. So no Yoda, no Trosa, none of the Obi-Wans, so he's got a resource there. Another Dagobah Training Grounds, paying for a resource with itself. Well, actually another one. Always a good play. I always find that usually, if you can, you want to try to use the neutral resources to pay for things first, because a lot of times your better events or even just units you want to play usually have to have an affiliation match. So playing the resource game right on Jerry's end now. And I think Jerry's probably realizing he's in a bit of a tough situation here because Gork is still a pretty meaty defender with, even though he's already got 3 damage on him, and the guard can protect him, so it's going to be hard to take that out. Looks like he's going to play a Mystic again. He's still got 4 cards in his hand. And lots of resources left. So I have to see what he decides to do at this point. I think he might be getting ready to play something else unless he's got some good tricks up his sleeve here. Alright, so he's either saving his hand for edge or he really got one of those Jedi crap draws there that he didn't get much with it, which can unfortunately happen with sometimes with Jedi. So it looks like he is going to defend with the Mystic. And I'm going to, or attack with the Mystic. I got to figure out who to defend with here. If I want to attack, or sorry, defend with the Royal Guard or Gork or let it go. So it looks like I'm actually going to go ahead and try to defend with the Royal Guard. And I'm going to take an action. I'm going to play Administrative Detainment on the Mystic. So that'll focus the Mystic. And then I'll use Vader's reaction to actually deal a damage to the Mystic. So that means that Royal Guard, as long as he gets to shoot, should be able to take out the Mystic there. So that's pretty good for me. So it looks like I'm going to get another clear board unless Jerry's got more tricks up his sleeve. Now, he does have 4 edge cards, and even though I've got the Mystic focused, he has a right to play edge cards here, and I certainly have the right to also play edge cards. So he's put a card in. Looks like I'm putting 1 in. I still have 1 card left. He's got 3 left. He's put 4 in. Looks like he's dumping his hand. I guess he did get a crappy draw. I have a Seeds. That's not going to do anything. And Jerry has a bunch of fate cards. So it looks like he has a Protection, a Heat of Battle, a Seeds of Decay, and another Echoes of a Force. So, wow. Probably not really wanting to draw, but I guess we'll have to see what the best way to play this is here. So if you go in the correct sequence, the Protection, I'm pretty sure, goes first. So there's lots of options for him. He could protect the Mystic and keep it alive, even with the guard shooting. He could protect one of his objectives. Looks like he's going to actually protect Forgotten Masters. That's an interesting call. Might have been better off protecting the Mystic, because I've already used Vader's reaction, unless I have a choke in my hand, which I'm pretty sure I don't. I thought that was Palpatine. Um, and if I had a choke, I probably would have used it. So now I guess he's got to figure out what to do with echoes, heats, and seeds. So he did the heat. He probably actually technically should have done the echoes first. So he's going to echoes the Royal Guard. So that means it'll double focus if it strikes. He's actually going to seeds it. So he's going to take balance. The problem is Gork still has 3 force icons and 3. So once we get to the force struggle, he's going to be able to get balance back. At this point, I actually think I remember us talking about this. So let me give you a little insight. So I think I'm explaining to Jerry that I think he might have had a better option with what he did there. That he might have wanted to seeds Gork and let the Mystic die, which he actually could have avoided if he had used protection on the Mystic to begin with. But anyway, he could have freed up or seeds Gork, because he'd have balance. Then he would be able to get it back because he won it with Forgotten Masters anyway, and then I would be all focused down and not be able to take it back. That would mean the dial would just go to 5, and there's no way I could possibly win on the next turn. So yeah, I guess we were just talking about that there, and he actually does decide to take my advice, and he focuses Gork instead. He's going to leave the guard committed, which makes sense because that means the guard will double focus. And really, like I said, if he had thought about using protection on the Mystic to begin with, I think I actually told him you could protect that if you want to instead, then it would have kept it alive. But he actually is going to let it die from the shot. This is one of those things when you're playing a friendly casual game like this, a lot of times it helps to actually talk through these scenarios if it's somebody you're friends with or a playtesting partner, to try to come up with the best scenario you can and help each other out so you get better for more competitive play if you end up playing a tournament. So that is what's going to happen. So he does that. I killed the Mystic. He let me do that. But since he has balance, when we switch to my turn, the dial will only go to 5. And that means even if I blow up all of his objectives, I can only get the dial to 11 unless I've got some surprise Navy cards in here to bump the dial, which I don't think I do. And so that would be actually a pretty risky proposition for me. I probably don't want to blow everything up because I might not have enough defense to hold him off my next turn. So I'm going to play a Sith Library. I got the resource. I might as well do it. I know I've still got Palpatine out, so I kind of wonder if I'm going to play Palpatine and get him on the board. Let's see, a Gork there. I already got Gork on the board. That's not going to do me as much good. I'm trying to see what else I have in my hand there. Palpatine can at least focus a lot of stuff down. And I got a protector out to help save him if Yoda hits the board. So, yep, looks like I'm going to play Palpatine here. Good old Palpy hitting the board. That's always a good thing for Dark Side. So basically right now I've got a free board to swing at. I do want to hit something to make sure Ties of Blood doesn't damage Dark Council, for instance, and actually get a free objective off the board. Then he'd only need 2. He's out of cards. He's got nothing he can do. So it looks like I'm going to attack with the Servant. And I have a feeling I might actually attack the Forgotten Masters there. I'm not sure I really want to blow something up. If I blow up Ties, he might just flip another one. He could flip up and May the Force Be With You, which there's already one on the board. He could flip up Forgotten Heroes, which I know is in his deck from those Jedi Mind Tricks. And then that would let him keep drawing cards. So I actually attacked Forgotten Master, so the damage will take the shield off and the unopposed will put it up to 3. So I've still got some damage spread around, but right now I've got Palpatine, Gork, and Vader to defend with a Royal Guard still out to soak up some damage if I need to. So it looked like I took one off Dark Temple. I passed the turn to Jerry, and I'll set up my wall of Sith Defenders here. Now Jerry does have 7 resources, so if he can draw some of his bigger units, there's still a chance he might be able to do some serious damage to me this turn and maybe be able to hold me off because May the Force can click you up. Oh, he just dropped a nudge. That's going to put it back down to 4. There goes my plan of waiting. I need to somehow get balance back after this turn, or else I'm going to be in not able to blow up all three of his objectives and win again. So typical Jedi stall here. Just try to drag the game out as long as you can. So be curious to see what Jerry actually had here. So he's going to play 3 for Leia. So Leia is a pretty good unit, although against Sith she's a little bit more vulnerable because a Vader and a Force choke can take her out like now. She's probably actually better earlier in the game as long as you have some protection for out like Ron or Guardians or just ways to shield her to try to help keep her around and hopefully hold on to balance so you can do damage to dark side units and try to minimize their board presence. So at this point, I think Jerry's really trying to consider his options here. It's probably going to be hard for him to actually be able to get all 3 objectives no matter what he draws because he played Leia. He needs 1 damage on Dark Council. He also needs 3 more damage on the other 2 objectives, and unless he has a way to make sure he wins edge and focus Palpatine would basically be able to focus down a bunch of units that he might be able to put on the board, and then Gork or Vader could take out things there. So looks like he's going to play a Lost Master now. So a little bit more offensive units. So if you could get that to swing in, certainly if you could get it to swing unopposed, you could get a couple more damage in. One drawback with the Lost Masters is when you play them, a dark side player has a chance to spend a resource and bounce them back to your hand. I actually don't have any resources open, so I can't do that right now. But that's really good with Forgotten Heroes is out, which I think was sort of the point of Jerry's deck. So, you play a Lost Master, Forgotten Heroes is out, you draw a card. If the dark side chooses to bounce them back, you can just play them again and draw another card and really build up your hand size to help craft a hand for an edge battle or just have better choices for your units to play down or even events or even other enhancements that you just might draw because you're getting to look at more cards here. So I think right now, if I remember correctly, as I said, I'll try to give you some insight to what we were thinking about or talking about. Is I think Jerry is trying to figure out, is there any way he can somehow get the Force back? Right now, I have 7 on the Force with Gork and Vader. He could attack with Leia, but that's a little risky because Gork or Vader could basically shoot her, and she wouldn't be able to stop that. Palpatine could basically lock down all the Jedi units that Jerry has, and the Nudge too. If I actually went edge with it, I could just put a focus on each of them. And even though he could free something up with May the Force be with you, it just wouldn't be enough to get balance back. Now, the dial is at 4. So again, as I said, if I can somehow keep balance here, get the dial to 6, I've got so much damage out on those objectives that Jerry has right now on the Jedi side that I should be able to take all 3 of them out in my next turn and win. So I guess he's trying to figure out, can he beat Seth? And he needs some other unit or 2 to try to get it back that has at least 2 Force pips, and then he could just commit, hope I don't have a choke, to take something out and get balance back and kind of at least put me off from one more turn. So I think he's trying to decide, should he play something else, if he even has anything else to play. He's still got, looks like 3 cards in hand, because he's played Leia, the Nudge, and the Lost Master this turn. So I think I still have about 3 cards in hand too, or maybe 4, which is going to make it hard for him to win an edge battle, probably, unless he's holding Yoda's out. I got to think if he has Yoda's, Yoda would have just been on the board by now, because Yoda would take the Force. So, again, Jerry's probably trying to think, is there any way he can prolong for one more turn? He just needs to get one, try to last for an extra turn after I go so he has a chance to potentially take things out. He's probably going to have a hard time holding me off unless the dial is only at 5. And even then, with that Nudge being on the board, any event could take the Nudge out, put it back to 6, and I should be able to take out all the 3 objectives. So he really could use something with tactics here besides Leia to sort of help his cause. So it looks like he's still pondering and trying to think if he can play something else. And I think he's going to play one. He's going to play another Lost Master. So that gets him to 7. If he could actually somehow just magically flip the balance of the force right now with Forgotten Masters, if he won an edge battle, then he could potentially do it. Although, like I said, with Palpatine being out, he could focus a lot of things down. And while the Lost Masters are nice because they're cheap, but they're considered committed to the force. So that means you have to double focus them if you strike, but also it means May the Force be with you is useless on them. They can't free them back up because they don't require a force card on them. And you can't recommit something that's already committed. So it looks like Jerry's going to just pass turn. The dial's going to go to 6. I'm going to have all my resources open, which means I actually technically have 8. And we'll see what I draw into and see if there's any way I can hold or take out all 3 of these objectives, or see if Jerry can hold me off here. There's been a sort of classic battle between Sith and Jedi, and a lot of times it's just a matter of who gets the board presence first and gets some of the event cards to get cycling around. Whether it's dark side with Vader and chokes and things, or light side having force rejuvenations, unfinished business, stuff like that. So it looks like I'm actually playing another resource just so I have it, and then I'm going to play pick for 2. So I could get some pick and Gork shenanigans going potentially. So if Gork takes damage in an engagement while pick's out, pick bounces to your hand, and then pick can come back in actually if Gork's in an engagement. So you can really start going to town if you can time things right. And now, I guess at this point it's just a matter of I'm trying to probably figure out how can I do this. I gotta somehow deal with Leia. The Lost Masters are going to be a little bit hard to kill. I can take one out with Vader, but I can't kill them all. I basically have to make sure I can win some edge battles, get some unopposed, and hope that Jerry doesn't have a Seeds of Decay. So looks like I'm going to actually play another Administrative Detainment that I just drew. I'm going to focus Leia. And then I can trigger Vader on something. I'm going to trigger Vader and hit the nudge. So that'll put the dial up to 7. And now, I think at this point is when I realize that, I have it, because the Servant of the Dark Side's ability, or passive ability, is when it attacks, the light side player has to have units that have at least 2 force icons or more to be able to defend. And the Lost Masters both have 1. So Jerry is not going to be able to defend here. I'm going to send the Servant and Palpatine after May the Force be with you. I'll be able to lock down all his units and then take out the other ones. Yep, looks like Jerry, we just realized that then, can swing in there to win. He's just showing me what he has in hand. So it was a good game there, a little back and forth, lots of damage on both sides. But thanks to everyone who's been watching and supporting my new channel, Yoda's Hut. Have a good night.